Hi, I'm your host Kelly Bowen, and you are listening to the Lifestyle Finance Australia show, which is dedicated to creating greater awareness about the power of leveraging finance when it comes to accelerating your growth and personal development. And we celebrate the hundreds of coaches, thought leaders, and game changers we support. This is a platform where you can meet some of the world's best experts in online business, trauma healing, digital marketing, relationship coaching, abundance and wealth creation, spiritual ascension, body healing, and wellness. So if you're looking for your next coach, healer, or mentor to take you on the next step in your journey, this is the show for you. Let's play. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to another episode of the Lifestyle Finance Show. I have a very special guest with me today that I'm super honored to be having this chat with. He's doing some super cool stuff in the world, and I love how he's blending so many different areas and what he's producing, and probably one of the most interesting people I've met in a very long time, Brandon Mangion. And he is an international touring DJ, mentor for young adults, and club owner. So, Brandon, tell me, how do you blend all of these worlds? And welcome.
Firstly, yeah, thank you so much for having me, Kelly. It's an honor to be on your podcast. I blend all of these worlds because I have so much fun. I have so much fun and I love what I do. And impact is at the core of everything. So it's not just about me. It's about the lives of the people that I can touch in the process while I have so much fun. And that's how I can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And if you haven't seen one of this guy's shows, if you jump on his Instagram and you look up Teddy Cream and you see how much fun he is having, I haven't been to like a club for a while, but as soon as I saw your shows, right, I was like, I want to go to this. I feel like I can be part of it. I have never been to a gig where the DJ gets you to sing back the songs. I think that is just the coolest thing. Like, what is your inspiration behind this?
Behind like the sing-alongs in the clubs.
Yeah, and your music and how you move people, because like you said just before, like
Yeah.
it's impact. And I've never seen a DJ impact a crowd like that. And I've been to many,
Mm.
but I've never seen something like you do, and which I think like really translate. And it feels like it'd be such a special experience to be part of.
Yeah. So I've been DJing for a long time, since I was 13. I'm turning 27 this year.
Hmm.
And the thing that has really stuck out for me, and what I did notice, is that a lot of DJs are DJing for themselves. It's like they want to play the songs that they love. They
Hmm.
want to sort of have a really cool ego boost, basically.
Hmm.
And for me, it's like I walk onto a stage and I think about like, how can I give these people the best fucking night that they've ever had in their lives? And
Hmm.
so it's not about me when I'm going up there. My job is to entertain people, to give them a beautiful experience, and to share amazing energy with them, and give them a night that they'll never forget. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Gosh, it translates. Let's talk to me a little bit about, for those who don't know you in this space, and like how we
Mm.
come across, like we met through the coaching space. Tell me a little bit about what it is that you do and who it is that you serve, pretending I know nothing about it.
Right. Okay. Well, so I started off as an international touring DJ. That was my main thing for a while, and then when COVID hit, I got to a point where I was very fulfilled, like traveling the world, and very successful, but at the same time really depressed. I was addicted to drugs and binge drinking, and got really caught up in the nightlife, like the dark side of the nightlife industry.
Mm.
And so it was when COVID hit that I was like, holy shit, I need to get I got to get my stuff together. And so I just went on the journey. It was a blessing in disguise. I went on the journey of personal development and spirituality and looking into myself. And I was able to really work through a lot of things. I was bullied when I was young, cyberbullied a lot, especially like becoming very popular at such a young age.
Mm.
And so that's kind of what led me into the destructive habits and escapism. And for me to be able to then turn my life around, it was just, I had a calling, a burning desire in my heart to help other young adults as well who were struggling. So for me right now, like I'm on a mission to inspire and impact 11 million young adults. not just in the nightlife industry, but young adults in general. So I love to help young people thrive, to succeed, to be wildly successful, but at the same time to be incredibly fulfilled. And I think that's where there can be like a misalignment, because there are some people that are super successful, but they lack fulfillment, right? And Tony Robbins says, success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was like, that's it. Like I'm having so much fun and I'm loving my life so much right now that I can't help but to share that. It's like my cup is overflowing with joy, and I just want to impact and touch as many young adults as I can, because I know that I was struggling so much, and I don't want anyone to experience what I had to go through.
Yeah, and I love this passion in you, and it's so transparent when you speak and just in everything that you do. Because since you've come into my field, I've literally watched you do what you do. Like I've also come from club life. I know what that life is. I know what it feels like to be in like the underbelly of it with the drugs and the dark side, and then trying to get out of that. And I'm really curious your thoughts on this, because I've had this conversation with a few different people and I'm really curious what you think about it. I've always had the belief that often when there are addictions involved or drugs are involved, the wanting to keep going back for that high is, it's almost like there's this deeper yearning for this spiritual awakening. Yet at that age we don't necessarily know what it is, yet the first time we experience that high, like this overwhelming sensation of like love rushing through our field, like the bombarding of the oxytocin and the dopamine and the serotonin, it's almost like the first time we kind of remember what it was like to feel super spiritually connected and that unconditional overwhelming love, yet going about it the wrong way, and then keep going for that connection thinking it's going to sustain itself, but it doesn't. So I'm really curious about what you think about that, because I've always thought like the moment that I actually learned how to ground my soul in my body and have that deeper spiritual connection, those things have fallen away. Before that though, there was kind of like my pathway to love, to spiritual awakening. So I'm curious what your thoughts are about that, and like some of the really big lessons you've shifted through in coming out of that, because I think this is such a generational thing. Like so many people do turn to music, to clubland to find some sort of connection. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I share very similar thoughts to you. I truly feel like, well, there's two ways, right? So I think that there is a massive like escapism epidemic at the moment, where young adults are not willing to feel their emotions, these heavy emotions, and so they turn to escapism, things like doom scrolling, TikTok, and drugs, and like binge eating, and like whatever it may be. And so a lot of people are going down that path to escape their feelings, unwilling to sit and process their emotions. But then there's also the people that are trying to seek that connection with spirit, with God. And I truly believe that, like when a guy knocks, when a guy rocks up to, like do any of these kind of things, what they're really looking for is that unconditional love, that connection to spirit that is within them, but they actually haven't accessed it. And so when they go towards these things, it's like for a moment it gives them a kind of a feel of that. And it's like, yeah, like it's like a remembering, right? Yeah. I remember the first time I took MDMA, I was like, I love everyone, da, da, da. And now I can do that without any drugs, and it's just like my natural state of being.
Yeah.
But it's like you've got to practice and embody that over a long period of time for it to become your natural state, but you can do it without drugs.
Yeah, 100%. And even better without the drugs. I'm really curious. You mentioned something that really stood out for me there about the unwillingness, like the escapism culture and the unwillingness to feel emotions. And I've always said one of the bravest things that anyone can ever do is embark on that journey of feeling the things that you don't want to feel. I think
Mm,
it is one of the most rewarding yet most horribly terrifying journeys you can ever go on. And I'm really curious what that process has been like for you as a man, because again, another like society cultural conditioning is men don't have feelings.
right.
So I'm really curious what this journey has been like for you and how you like when you have stuff that you're needing to process, like how do you support yourself and move through this?
Mm, that's a great question. And I think vulnerability and being able to admit and embrace that, hey, like we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and part of the human experience is to, you know, learn how to process emotions, like learn how to feel all the things. And we see a lot of people spiritually bypassing as well these days, right? And so it's like, yes, we can be super spiritual and we can do all of the meditation and all of the spiritual practices, but at the end of the day, um, we're still humans. And so I think it's really important to be able to have amazing people that we can trust, that we can open up to, that can support us through these kind of things. Um, because to open up and to feel those emotions on our own can be really scary.
Yeah.
You know, like I have mentors and friends that when I'm feeling, you know, even though I am a leader myself and I you know, run a mentor and coaching program for like over 100 young adults, I
Mm,
still have my people that I go to because I'm still a human as well, right?
yeah.
And I think it's just having that. It really, Kelly, I think it comes down to courage. It is so fucking courageous to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
But it is like the superpower. And m- there was so one of my first ever spiritual mentor, who I never met in person, but he rummed us. I listened to him over like lecture after lecture after lecture. And he said the key is being able to keep your heart open in hell.
Mm.
As,
Oh, you're so
yes,
right.
yes. And because it's like if you push anything away, it's still gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you do that? How do you
Yeah.
so when like how do you personally practice that? Because I know for me when I've got that kind of stuff, I go through a purpose of allowing. So
Mm,
my instinct, and this is like when I look at how my defense mechanism, the avoidance likes to kick in, I want to run away. I want to run away. I want to push it away. And then, well, that doesn't really solve anything, does it? But in the
right.
being like, so when I'm going through this process to make peace with something or allowing it, it's like, well, what if I just allow it in my field a little bit?
Mm,
It's okay for it to be there and for me to be with this discomfort.
yeah.
And then stretch that and then like okay well and then I go through a process of like kind of like how old am I right now and then reparent that part and integrate it back into myself like when how do you practice that piece of advice because when you said it I was like absolutely felt it in my heart
Oh, right.
like we practice this we can feel these things right so we can say a sentence and like we understand but what does the practice of that look like for you or feel like.
Yeah. So for me, it really, and it's really counterproductive. Like it's kind of counter what most life coaches and personal development people say, because it's usually like if you're feeling shit, pattern interrupt, you know, like go have a cold shower, go for a run, do this, do that. And just it's kind of like another form of escapism.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's really being able to sit with whatever I'm feeling for at least 90 seconds. Um, and to be able to alchemize that emotion. And so I was listening to a Tibetan Buddhist teacher. Her name's Pema Chodron. And so there was in her session, there was a scientific study that said that if you can actually allow yourself to sit and feel with an emotion without like letting your thoughts add to like without creating storylines about, but to actually go into your body and to sit with the emotion and to feel it. It actually only takes about 90 seconds for that to actually fully pass. And so the way I see these emotions is when they're coming up, it's not a bad thing to feel those heavy emotions. And I don't see them as positive or negative emotions either. I just see them as light emotions and heavy emotions. Then they're all valid, right? And so what I do is when they come up, I sit with them and I see it as an actual beautiful process, because it's like coming up to be released. So then I can be more free, so that I can be, like I truly believe that we have like rivers of spirit, like that life force energy that rise up through us. And that energy gets blocked by all of our trauma and the stuff that we've suppressed and really bottled down, the stuff we've been unwilling to feel. And so whenever there's any space, it comes up to be felt. But most people push it straight back down. And so the key is to actually let go and surrender to whatever is coming up without adding to the drama of it. I always, like, whenever I'm feeling any heavy emotion, I know that on the other side of that is going to be an incredible up leveling of my spiritual life and how deep I can go in compassion and love for other humans. And I think being able to really feel those heavy emotions, having the courage to feel them, helps you then become more empathetic and more compassionate with others, because you know exactly what they're going through. And you're able to hold space for them in a way that is so fucking powerful. Because most people, when someone is struggling, it's just like giving unsolicited shitty advice or like, get over it, things will get better, like, just be happy, be grateful, rather than actually being there with them through that and holding their hand during that experience, because they need to feel that.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah.
You know what I'm loving is your emotional availability.
Yeah.
Really, really love it. And one of the biggest things that I've always been a big believer that we can only ever meet somebody where we're willing to meet ourselves. And the more down this path, like when we're leading and mentoring and helping people shift through this, we've got to be willing to go there. Because if we're not, they're only going to meet us at 80% of where we're willing to go. And it's so beautiful, like hearing you share this and like your willingness to go to these places and how you are able to be with these emotions. And the more I get to know you and the more I listen to you, it makes sense why I can feel like from when we had our like first connection, I took you through the onboarding process to get you set up with finance, there was a frequency about your heart that just emanated. And the more I get to know you, the more it makes sense. And the more that I hear you speak, like I can literally feel this frequency emanate. It's really beautiful. And it makes sense why your clients are getting such incredible transformations, because sometimes just being in the presence of such love frequency, it transfers and translates more than any words could possibly do.
Well, that's 5D consciousness, right? Is like keeping your heart open in all circumstances, no matter how much.
Yeah.
That's the key.
Yeah. And the other thing too, and curious what you think about this, every time I've been through and had the courage to go into some of those deeper, more painful emotions, my capacity then to feel love, joy, fun, play, abundance, all of those things also expands. Whereas before I started to allow myself to feel those feelings, I thought I was feeling the good feelings. I wasn't even scratching the surface, because you can only feel within your scope, and the scope, like the thing being in 3D reality, being in physical form, is that the range of emotions that we can feel in this human experience is huge. And it doesn't mean that we have to go to all of the heavier emotions, but we have to be willing to, in order to feel the scale and the elation of the other ones.
Yeah, it's like that beautiful paradox, and being able to hold it all
while
remaining present.
Yeah.
Because presence is, like the sometimes I catch up with people for like lunch or dinner, and just to be able to sit there and look them in the eye without fidgeting, without picking up the phone, and to just like look deep into their soul. And it's like there's literally been times where I've just sat down with someone and they've just started crying, being like, what is that feeling? And it's because I've trained myself to be so open. And because, Kelly, when it comes to human relationships and connection with people, most of the time it's really like you're listening to what someone has to say, and then in your head you're rehearsing what you want to say next, and it's kind of just like a back and forth mind fuck. And it's like sometimes for me, I'm just like just sit there and really be with someone. That is one of the most beautiful experiences that we can have ever. And I would like it's more valuable than any kind of money or anything. It's being present with someone and fully just opening your heart to them in that moment. That can change someone's life forever. Really can.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more. It's
Mhm.
interesting that this theme about presence,
Yeah.
the last like 3 different spaces that I've been in, it's always like it keeps coming back to this heart consciousness, this presence. So I'm curious, since it's on the table, how do you cultivate this within yourself and how do you maintain it? Because like looking at what you're doing, like international touring DJ, and that's being humble. Like you're
Mm.
playing on some super big stages through Europe. You own clubs here in Melbourne. You're constantly doing stuff up on the Gold Coast, yet you're also in this deep present space. You're in these highly stimulating environments. And then you're coming back to being so grounded and so present. How do you cultivate this within yourself and how do you maintain it and how do you transverse through these worlds? Because I know for me to maintain the level of presence, I could like I just being in highly stimulating environments, I need time to recover and recultivate. Like how do you maintain it?
Yeah, I am very devoted to like my practices like meditation and not just that, but I've I've gone through the whole egoic I guess that rock star lifestyle of like, oh my God, like I'm the fucking shit. And in a way that was a little bit prideful. And so like I know that because I've been able to access that and I've seen that world, I know that it's not it. And so now I've been able to take a step back and like, yeah, I think for me, what my goal is to be able to hold both of like, I have undeniable, unshakable confidence in myself, in my mission, in who I am and the impact that I can have in the world. But at the same time, I can love people like Jesus loved me. I can have like the most incredible amounts of compassion and gentleness and love. And I think that we, you hear all of these things about, the West versus the East, and there's the Buddhists, and I think what the next level of superhuman is going to be the one that can hold both, that can be super fucking rich and also be able to be, the most loving person in the room.
I agree. I
Yeah.
couldn't agree more. I think there has been like we've been the old way of spiritualism was looking at them like they're broke. Like money was this bad thing, but abundance is almost as spiritual as you can get. And cultivating abundance is such a spiritual journey in itself. And I think that if we are to make big impact in the world, there needs to be abundance to do that. And everybody
Yes.
looks at, I always love this, like looking at these paradigms. Like you think Buddha was poor, you think Mother Teresa was poor. They weren't poor. They had like, look at the legacy that they've left and look at the amount of money
Right.
involved in funding their messages just because they lived humbly like that doesn't mean they were poor. There was multi-millions of dollars behind those empires to get them out there. Same with Ram Dass, like
Yeah.
all the big leaders on the planet, except there was like, it was almost like it got taboo that you can't be wealthy and spiritual. And I also think, like, again, the paths got separated. There was like looking at that success thing. It's like the emptiness chasing of money, thinking that money is then going to mean I am now worthy of something or I have power. I find people go after money for 1 or 2 reasons, like that success typical paradigm is either they're wanting to prove something so they can feel good enough and be worthy of love, or 2, they want power because they felt powerless. So they think status and money is going to equal power. And you kind of got like the two split, the corruption, like don't go after money because it's not spiritual. And then you've got the spiritual people are like money is bad. And we actually think like, again, fifth dimensional consciousness, right? Where we come into this unity and oneness, it is the bridging of the two worlds. I'm curious, what does abundance mean to you?
Abundance to me is squeezing the juice out of life, to really to be presence and love. Presence and love. I'll define it in 3 words: presence, love, impact. That's abundance to me.
Amazing.
Presence, love, impact. And like without a shitload of money, like you probably can't make as much of an impact in the world that you'd like to have, right? Yeah. So like another great example is Marcus Aurelius. Like, he was a Roman emperor, the most powerful man in the world. And when his personal notebook got released, the book's called Meditations. In that book, it's like he never wanted it to be published. Like, they just found it after his death, and it was notes writing to himself about how to stay humble and how to be a good person, how to live with integrity. Like, I need to and it blew my mind, because I'm like, whoa, this person had everything and he was still such an incredible soul. And there is no reason why we can't do that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the more we evolve into our heart consciousness, like, these are the aspects that are going to come out. And I was speaking on a summit last week about the new paradigm of leadership, and we were talking about the qualities of like what heart consciousness leadership is versus the old paradigm. So the old paradigm leadership was, you mind over matter. It was all like mindset qualities, like courage, take great risks, show up no matter what, like hustle, grind, work while your enemies are sleeping, kind of like.
Yeah.
Early bird gets the worm, that kind of stuff, versus like, and then also motivated through, you have to be doing ridiculous things, pushing your body beyond human limits to adrenal burnout to even be successful or taken seriously, and then how you led people was through fear. Right. Now the way that we're shifting is that through heart consciousness, the qualities that we're cultivating and praising within leadership are very different. It's heart consciousness, it's courage, it's developing people that are coming through, it's inspiring people, it's being kind, it's being generous, it's being abundant, it's being collaborative. It's not a you versus me, it's a we. And this is the big shift, and we're slowly seeing it start to change. I always love going back and watching like a 1980s movie where you see that like type A personality bully boss, like The Devil Wears Prada, that kind of like where she's amazing, but she's an absolute bitch to her staff. And then now as we shift, but when we look at some of the other movies that are being produced, all the leaders are actually cultivating their staff. And they're growing their staff to be autonomous within the organization, not to be dictated to by the leader. So I find this really interesting. And I'm curious, like, being the space that you're in with young adults, what are you seeing, and how are you, like, what trends are you seeing coming through, like, with the new generation of leaders?
I'm really seeing the need for community and good role models among young adults. And so what I'm doing now is raising up leaders, like young adult leaders, because most young adults don't have great role models. I didn't when I was, when I was 18 to, like throughout the addiction phase, I didn't really have great role models. And so I think for young adults, especially because, like, look at the music that's being produced today, like the rap music and the lyrics in there, and like these pops, like these crazy pop artists that are like literally making songs talking about how cool it is to be suicidal and depressed. I'm like, what the fuck? Right? And so these young adults and these young people are being brainwashed by, I don't know what the fuck's going on. I'm not like, not into or like going too deep into the conspiracies, but we all know that some shit's got not right. And so really to be a light in that darkness, and to actually have the courage to come up and say, that is freaking cooked. Like, to be disruptive and be like, no, like being like, there's nothing cool about being suicidal and depressed. Like, you don't have to just accept that you're going to be that way forever, because it's a load of crap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agree. And I think that's one of the biggest things you learn when you start healing is like, oh, you mean that's not normal? Oh, I shouldn't celebrate that. And I love that you actually point that out about the lyrics in current modern music. I remember there was a song
Yeah.
out a few years ago, this song about being young, dumb, and broke. And it had a really catchy tune, and I'm like, that is not something I want stuck in my head. Can you imagine all these young kids young and broke? Like, no. Like, how about young, intelligent, and prosperous? But it's so interesting. Or like, I don't even. Oh, well, it's my podcast. I can say whatever I want. Like, fucking something, something, something. Like, and the aggression in some of the music as well. Like, I think people don't realize the frequency that our words carry. Every word is like a frequency key to unlock something within you. We're 70% water, and our DNA like is activated by frequency. So if you're putting low dense frequency into your body, your DNA is getting shut down. Like you're in stress states, regardless of how catchy the tune is. What
Right.
you're continually repeating to yourself is not uplifting, it's not inspiring. I really, being the space that you're in, particularly in the music space, I love that you bring that to attention.
Right. Yeah, 100%. I think we have to really guard our inputs. For me, I'm always just listening to things that are going to uplift my soul, and put me in a space that, I have great responsibility. And with that, I can't afford to be, engaging in gossip, watching the news every day, all those kind of things that really bring you down. I think it's important to, especially for young adults, like, don't, like, I don't know, like, if you want to have a big impact in the world, you've got to make time and cut out distractions.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with watching a bit of Netflix here and there, but like
Oh,
every night watching Netflix, doom scrolling TikTok, it's like, how can you do anything worthy of, like making an impact in the world if you're doing what everyone else is doing?
what do you think? So, being that you're a lot closer to this than I would be, what impact do you think the 2 years of the C word and lockdowns have had on the developmental stages of young adults based upon what you're seeing? So I know for me, it was like I had my own personal holiday retreat. It was perfect and it was exactly what I loved it. It was like it didn't, but I also wasn't 20 something. If that was happened to me at 20 something, would have been very different. So I'm just curious, like, what are you seeing with that? What have you noticed? Is there any things coming out of that, or with young adults are needing extra support, or things are being missed?
I haven't looked too deeply into it, but what I have seen is that during the time, most young adults struggle a fuckload. And now, in retrospect, they've had some kind of spiritual growth from that experience. Because when everything is stripped away, like, it's like, for me, like, just going for a walk during COVID, I was like so over the moon just to be able to go for a walk and listen to music, right? And so, like, I think it was a great reset. I personally believe that. I'm not sure what. Yeah. I don't look too deeply into the lives of, what everyone's doing and believes. I think that, for me, I grew massively from it, and I've seen the people in my community have grown massively from that as well. And even if they don't know it yet, I think that I personally think that it's perfect, and we have to be able to cultivate wisdom, perspective, but we have to do the inner work to be able to look. Because if you don't look, it's like, fuck, like, life's not fair, and it's the victim mindset. But if you actually take time to look at how you've grown,
yeah, I think
you'll be very surprised.
Yeah, 100%. It was, I hadn't really thought about it until it was something that my friend said to me, who I would put her in like the young adult category, where she'd mentioned something. She was like, I lost 2 years during a time that was like, it's the time in your early 20s where you're exploring so much about yourself. And she was like, I really enjoyed the reset, but I didn't really, I don't know what that's really meant in terms of lost time. I'm like you.
Mm.
She wasn't, there was no like victim about it. It was just a curious comment that she made where I was like, oh, it didn't even occur, because I honestly had such a great time
Mm.
during that time.
Me too.
I was like you, I was loving it because I lived down on the peninsula. Like, we've got beautiful nature. Most of my friends lived within a 5 kilometer radius. So I didn't feel so disconnected from community. And I really love the reset. For me, like going back to the like most simple things, like you said, going for a walk and being in nature, and like it was almost thrilling that I never stopped for a moment to think, how does this impact like young people, until she said something. That's why I was just curious, had you noticed anything? And you answered it, I guess, a little bit like I thought you would, being,
Well, yeah. I think that every catastrophe or any big disruption, there's always a silver lining if you choose to believe things.
mm,
If you choose to believe, like for me, right? I was addicted to coke in my living with my mum, doing coke in my room at the start of COVID, being
mm,
like, what there's got to be more to life than this.
yeah,
During COVID, I read like 400 books, became a certified life coach, built a business. And like I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now if it wasn't for COVID. Like I don't think so.
you're not a
So
man on a mission, holy shit.
so for me, it's like, I guess I've seen a lot of people that have like basically grabbed it by the balls and
Yeah,
said like, hey, this is an amazing opportunity. And if you look at the most successful people in the world, Warren Buffett, like all those kind of guys, they all, when shit goes crazy, when there's like a massive, the wars and
yeah,
big financial things, that's when they take action. Like they see that as opportunity time. And
yeah.
that's what I did. And it worked for me.
Yeah, amazing. I did too. Same thing. I was like, and I was very lucky, like, which is where the nature of my business too. I'm not going to deny the fact that sometimes
Mm,
some were better situated than others.
sure.
But I saw the same thing. I was like, right, this is an opportunity. This is where
Yeah.
like you get to see what you're made of, and there is so much available.
Well, it builds a lot of resilience.
Sure does. And
Mm,
this is where, like, I think resilience, when we're talking about creating success and fulfillment and healing, that is the number one key. Who cares if you get knocked down 9 times? It's that you get up
yeah.
the 10th time. And I think this is the thing that I often see. Like, this is one of the things in people, the difference between those that actually get to experience whatever it is that they set out to. So, whether it be like the things that you're wanting to achieve with your mission, or the things that I'm wanting to achieve with my mission, or any of the incredible people that I've already had on the Lifestyle Finance Show already, one thing they all have in common is resilience. Like,
Mm,
they can take a hit and they can get back up and do it with grace, with a smile on their face, and still not spill their coffee, kind of thing. Like, like that level of grace. But it only comes when you've been through something, which I guess leads me into, I guess, my fun question. I ask this to all of the people I have on the show, because I'm always, this is the one, this is one of the values that I really want to install within our listeners, because everything's available. You just like, are you willing to do what it takes? Are you willing to let the price of your, pay the price of your new life with your old life? And that, like, that little line, that little point of tension, like, are you willing to let go of and give up many things that are stopping you from embodying the new life? And I think the key thing is resilience. And I always love asking this question, which is, how many failed businesses, or epic, what would people would otherwise deem failures, before you got to this point that has you thriving in the light that you're thriving in now?
I kind of feel a little bit funny saying this because I've heard this question come up, and most people are like, yeah, I failed like 15 times before I had my first success. I've never, every project that I've ever done has been successful. everything that I've done has done well, has gone well, and I'm very blessed that that's been the case.
Well, you're not the first person to say that, just so don't, and there's no
Yeah.
like own it, actually own it, because
Yeah, fuck yeah. I've got the Midas touch. Everything I touch turns to gold.
oh, I love it. And this is like, I think you're the second person that's given me that answer. In terms of that though, I bet the success hasn't come without a shitload of lessons.
Oh yeah, there's been a lot of like, well, I was addicted to drugs for like 8 years, had about 10 overdoses, near-death experiences, rushed to hospital many times, had some freaking lows. And to be able to go so low, I think has been one of the reasons why I'm able to love so much and so deeply.
Yeah, that's so huge. I'm so glad that you're here.
Yeah, me too.
You have big things to do on this planet.
I'm not done yet.
Nah, you're just getting started.
Come on.
Yeah, let's do this. So, if you were to give young adults, like if you could go back and tell that younger version of you, the one that was struggling with drugs, the one that was struggling for his purpose, to whatever that was that he was searching for, if you could give a message to young adults, what would that be?
Be incredibly courageous.
Mm-hmm.
Express yourself unapologetically, and don't give a fuck about what people think of you.
Mm-hmm.
And you deserve to live a life beyond your wildest dreams. Mm-hmm. And love as many people as you can in the process.
Spread the love.
Yes.
It's a powerful message. Really beautiful message. When you mentioned earlier how like you did receive a lot of cyberbullying when you were younger,
Mm-hmm.
and in that message there it was like, don't give a fuck about what other people think.
Yeah.
How did you build that muscle?
It took a long time, right? Because back then, like when someone would say something, you know, my initial response would be like, fuck you. And I see that a lot now, but I guess the way that, you know, and I told you that time a couple of weeks ago how that person wrote a status about me. Yeah. And I called them and I was like, I'm so sorry that you're feeling that way. Are you okay? Is there anything I can do to support you? and that's like the best way to like diffuse the situation. Is hurt people, right? And so we've really got to be able to learn to not take things personally. People, when anyone is attacking you or is saying shit about you, it's mostly, I would say 99% of the time is because they're really hurting. Maybe 100%. Maybe there are some people that are completely evil and just, you know, but I believe that most people inherently are pure, but they've just been hurt. Yeah.
I really love that. And it's a journey, learning not to take things personally. And the more, I think the more that you build that muscle around knowing who you are and knowing your own authentic expression, like the other pieces of that beautiful message that you shared, the more you build those other pieces, you know so deeply who you are and you're so centered within yourself. When somebody says something, it's really clear whether it's a reflection of them.
Projection, yeah.
Or there is something there. And then regardless, like you said, you have the option. I remember you sharing that with me. You dealt with it so beautifully. So I remember like when you lean into it, you lean into the things that you want to run away from. Again, like what you were saying earlier about, was it Ram Dass who said
keeping your heart open in hell? Boom. Yes. That's the prime example. And I would say honestly, Kelly, that, you know, even like as much success as I'm having in the world right now, being able to flow through life without being triggered by people is one of the greatest gifts that I hold on to right now, being able to not take things personally. And yeah, so I would encourage everyone to, if you haven't already, like if you're holding on to resentment, if you haven't given anyone, if there are genuinely people in your life that you fucking hate, have a look at that. Because like I've really worked hard over the last few years I can genuinely say right now there's not one person in my life that I hate or I hold any bitterness towards. And because of that,
Yeah. So if one of our amazing listeners is listening to this, and there's been so many pieces of gold that you shared, and they're feeling like a little bit stuck with some of these things around whether it be about processing emotions or standing in their purpose or power or finding that they're taking things too personally. Because I know this is something that you do in your mastermind, right? It's not
right.
you're not just working with DJs helping them to achieve awesome things with their careers. You're also working like much deeper behind the scenes. If somebody did want your support with this, what is the best way they can get in contact with you?
Yeah, amazing. So I support all young adults through, yes, DJs as well, but all young adults when it comes to things like personal growth, being able to stand in your power, success, mindset, all around. The best way is to message me on Facebook, which is just Brandon Mangion.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Slide into your DMs.
Slide into my DMs, baby.
Amazing. Well, Brandon, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure and an honor. I always love chatting with you. I feel like I could just talk to you for hours about all sorts of different things, and you're somebody that is so you're so well rounded with all the different places you can go. You can totally play it like the fun banter level down into like the deep depths of like spirituality and philosophy, and then we can go like up into mindset and coaching and strategy and business, and you're just so much fun. And I think you are such a shining light for young adults and an incredible role model, and particularly like how much can change within the space of a couple of years when you really apply yourself. But even prior to that, like at all the success you've already achieved within the music career, and then how you're now sharing that back. And I love how collaborative you are with things. Like I've also been watching some of the stuff you do with your DJs, like helping them get gigs and step into the industry and be seen. And you really are like who you are online is exactly who you are offline. There's such a beautiful consistency about you. And I know when I'm looking for leaders and mentors, that's one of the things that I'm constantly looking for, is to make sure there is that consistency between who they say they are and who they are when no one's watching. And I keep seeing this beautiful consistency from you over and over again. So thank you so much for being on the show. I'm going to plaster the links to get in well, actually your DM, your Facebook. Go to his non-website, here's his DMs. I will put his social handles all over the place. So if you want to get in contact with Brendan, just simply reach out to him. He's beautiful, he's amazing to talk to, and he knows exactly what he's doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Kelly. It's been such an honor to know you over the last couple of months and to get to know you better. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the fun we're going to have in the future. And you're making a massive impact in the world as well. Thank you so much. And yeah, mic drop.
Actually, one last question before I totally let you go and slide. Totally presents, right?
Presents.
What happens when you get presents? You forget parts of things. I do need to ask this question because I think it's really important.
Oh, finance.
Right? Like I said, the reason I want to ask this question is because I want to make finance a normal pathway for people to pay for their growth and development, because we can take something that is thousands of dollars and make it available for like $75 a week. Most people don't have thousands of dollars lying around their bank account, but they can afford anywhere between $50 to $100 to change their life. It is that simple these days. And I know finance, which is how we came together, how this conversation started in the first place. Can you just quickly share with us before we like properly sign off, what have been some of the ways that finance has made working with you available for your clients, and what has that done in terms of being able to grow and scale your business and create greater impact?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, it's like being able to be paid in full for my programs was an instant game changer, because I was not having to constantly follow up and be like an accountant and like a financial sort of following up failed payments and things like that. And so to be able to get paid in full, for me to be living in my abundance and to be able to fully express myself and not have to worry about, things having to come through every single week, being able to get someone on finance where you get paid in full, which means that you have space. Like I literally have so much space now to be able to do fun shit and to invest in things and to, hire people and to scale my business. And really, honestly, Kelly, the people in my program, in my community, have had way more growth ever since I added lifestyle finance into my business, because it has been able for me to access levels of abundance that I've never accessed before. And so when I'm vibrating at that level, my clients are coming up with me.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I love it. Thank you. And this is what it's about. Like, we want to make growth easy. And again, this is changing the abundance paradigm, like we spoke about before. People who are being the light, and shining the pathway, deserve to receive things abundantly. And also, I think when we're investing in our own personal growth and development, it doesn't have to be hard. Like, again, if we're looking at changing the leadership paradigms, right? Go all in, got to have skin in the game. Yes, but not at the point where you're on your edges and, you don't know how you're going to put food on the table because you committed to this thing to say yes. It's the old way of growth, where if we by being able to access finance, what we're really doing is being able to put our growth and our dreams in the space that's easy for us, where we can stay in our heart consciousness. Because the moment we have too much adrenaline and cortisol in our system, within 60 seconds, I think we lose something like 40 to 60% of our IQ. That's a lot of intelligence out the window for feeling stressed.
Wow.
Yeah, it's huge. All right, my friend. Thank you. I adore it. This is what happens when you get really present, right?
Mic drop again.
I'm going to socials everywhere. And look, if this episode has made a difference to you, please share it, because if it's impacted you, it's definitely going to impact others. And let's share the love.
Thank you for listening to the Lifestyle Finance Show. If you loved this interview, please feel free to share it, because if it made a difference to you, it will absolutely make a difference to others. And if you are a coach, healer, or mentor, and you'd like to explore getting finance set up for your business so you can get paid in full from day one and financially support your clients in a far greater capacity than just your in-house payment plan, head over to my website, www.lifestylefinanceco.com, and follow the prompts so we can explore this further. Big love, beautiful soul, and thanks for the support.